There's 104 days of summer vacation, and school comes along just to end it. So the annual problem for our generation is finding a good way to spend it.
Hey, what's up everybody? This is LA Knight, and I am back with my April-May wrap-up and June TBR. I did not get as much reading done as I expected this month, or these last 6.5 weeks, because I got sick. My allergies were, like, super bad.
I was literally asleep for, like, 9 days. I was awake maybe 6 hours total over the course of 9 days, and mostly that was to eat and go to the bathroom.
I had to take so much Benadryl that I was basically unconscious, and it was really bad. So although I had, my husband posted things for me that I had pre-recorded, I didn't record anything new. And then also I had to make up, like, 7 days of work. And so, because, I have bills to pay. And so, I was working, like, 10-hour shifts constantly and was freaking exhausted by the end of it and didn't have time to do, like, I would work and then I would sleep. And even though I was working only 10-hour shifts because of my allergies, and, I actually, my allergies are so bad that I am actually legally disabled. And so, like, a 10-hour shift might take, like, 13 hours at work. And, by the time I got home, my voice was shot. I, like, was sniffling and sneezing and couldn't breathe, and I was wheezing, and I'd just go to bed. So that's why I haven't done anything, why there hasn't even been any new podcast lately, but I'm going to do this one because it is the 31st of May, and tomorrow is the 1st, and it's going to go up. Today is my last day of having to work 10 fucking hours a day, 7 days a week, for 2 whole fucking weeks. So I'm very excited for this. Tomorrow I do work, but only for, like, 2 hours. Yay! So, in April, and, the last 2 weeks of April and all of May, I actually didn't read as many books as I wanted to. But, they were actually pretty good. I read Star-Crossed by Barbara D., which is a cute middle-grade adaptation of Romeo and Juliet with no death. Modernized, and with a bisexual main character playing the Romeo character, and it was really cute. There were some things that I didn't notice when I read it, and I didn't notice when I reviewed it, but after reviewing it and then talking about it to Lori and Kitty Books, I noticed that there was, like, actually a major flaw in the book, but only for people with my background. Like, other people probably would never notice this thing. And I actually plan on talking about this in a separate video, talking about why certain things are not put in middle grade books, even though they should be. So that'll be a different video that I will do later. I reread Written in Red and Murder of Crows by Anne Bishop, which are the first 2 books in the Others series. I read Sword Art Online, the light novel.
I'm not reading the manga, because apparently in the manga, Asuna and Kirito, like, know each other for 5 minutes and then start ripping each other's clothes off. And I think that's ridiculous. It's totally not in character with Asuna's character.
But I read the light novel where that doesn't happen. I read Sword Art Online Abridged. I watched Sword Art Online Abridged like 10 million times. I read Sword Art Online Volume 1, the light novel, and then I read Sword Art Online Volume 3. Now, Volume 1 is the entire Aincrad arc, from the time they get stuck in the game until the time they get out. But because Reki Kawahara wrote it for a contest, he had to include the entire story in one book. But there were a whole bunch of things, so he skipped like 6 months at the beginning, and it's like, well, what happened during that 6 months? Sword Art Online Volume 2 is what happened during those 6 months. I haven't read it yet, but you don't need to read it in order to read Volume 3, and I didn't have it when I finished Sword Art Online 1.
Because when I ordered it from Book Outlet, along with Volumes 3, 4, and 5, they sent me 3, 4, and 5 and didn't send me Volume 2. So I was like, hey, yo, what's up with that? And they were like, oh, shit, sorry. And I'm like, yeah, now I have to wait like 10 million days.
And so I was like,
screw it, I'm just gonna read Volume 3.
Because I've also seen all of Season 1, which is Volumes 1 through 4. So, I knew I didn't need it to know what was going on. So I read Volumes 1 and Volume 3, and I'm actually in the middle of Volume 4, but I wanted to stop and read Sword Art Online Progressive, which is what happened during those 6 months. Now Sword Art Online Volume 2 is 4 short stories that take place during Sword Art Online. The first one. 3 of them are before I believe 3 of them are during, like, the big jump, and then one of them is, like, during a time that is actually covered in the book, but this event is not covered. But Sword Art Online Progressive is a series of light novels detailing the adventures floor by floor. Because in the first book, you start off on floor 1, and then suddenly they're on floor, like, 74 or 73. And it's like,
what happened to the other 73 floors? Like, how did you do that?
Now, in the anime, you see how they beat the boss on floor 1. Which, that also is written down only in Sword Art Online Progressive Volume 1. It's not in Sword Art Online. I'm reading the Zitz comics because they're kind of funny. The parents kind of annoy me sometimes. I read the first Zitz sketchbook, which was just called Zitz, in March. And then, because my husband really likes them, we ended up getting, like, sketchbooks 2 through 6. And I read the second one, which is called Growth Spurts. I listened to Mary Poppins, the audiobook, for the second time. I read the book and I've listened to the audiobook. I really like it, but I have some feelings about Mary Poppins, because the way she is in the movie, she's a lot nicer in the movie.
They keep doing that with Julie Andrews' characters. It's the same thing with the grandmother in the Princess Diaries. In the Princess Diaries books, the grandmother is batshit. She's evil. She's like the bride of Satan.
I read Every Hearted Doorway by Shannon McGuire, and my mom has promised to buy me Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is a prequel novel, and I'm super excited. And then there's going to be a third book coming out in January, so I'm going to ask for it for Christmas. And basically it means that everyone except one of my favorite characters gets a happy ending, and I'm very excited. And that one character, I don't know what's going to happen, if she's going to write a book about him or not. Winter Song by S.J. Jones, and had a lot to say about it. I have 3 podcasts about Winter Song, because I have a lot of feelings. And then I finished A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas, and I have some feelings about that too. I have very positive feelings and very negative feelings, and I'm really unhappy about some of the things that happened, but I also understand why they happened. And not like because the plot needed it. I understand why they were written in the way they were written, and I'm going to go into that in my review. Worlds of Ink and Shadow by Lena Coakley, and I actually have a review for that already recorded. It just hasn't been posted yet. And then I read The Wizard of London by Mercedes Lackey, which I've been meaning to read for like 12 years. I actually have started it like multiple times since I was 15 years old. Actually, no, I guess now that would be 13 years. Since I was 15 years old, and I just never got around to finishing it, because it's not as compelling as a lot of the other books in that series. Because, one, I started the series because I liked the romance. It's the book 4 in the Elemental Mages series, and I liked the romance of the first 3 books. There isn't any romance in this book. 2, the male lead was in no way sympathetic, I felt, unlike the male leads in the first 3 books. Now, actually, though, I had actually reread Book 3, Phoenix and Ashes, and now I find the male lead actually is very annoying. Now, when I was like 15 and got into the series, I was like, wow,
He's so hot, and he flies an airplane, and blah blah.
and I'm like,
Wow, you're kind of a douche.
and, you know, he's not as bad as the guy from Book 4, but I'm still like,
Man, you're a douche.
And then I read Uprooted by Naomi Novik, and I'm actually going to be recording my review of that sometime tonight, because I just needed to finally finish my crazy, ridiculous work week before I could, you know, give it my all. But I have a lot of feelings, because there were a lot of things that I really loved about that book, and there were a lot of things that I really hated. I have not heard any negative critiques of the book at all. And I'm honestly shocked, especially since I'm on Bookler, which is the book community on Tumblr. And Tumblr is usually all over that shit when, you know, there's like any kind of sexist or racist or, you know, whatever shit going down. Tumblr is always on that shit, and apparently they did not notice that shit in this book. So, you know, we'll see, you know, how people react to my podcast about that. I really did like the book, but I liked Naomi Novik's other books more than I liked this one. I would not mind reading a sequel, though. I would be okay with that. So I didn't hate it. But yeah, so that's what I read this month. So not as much as I was hoping, but more than, like, I have read in a while. And there were things that I started that I didn't finish. So, like, I started Adventures Wanted Book 1, Slathbog's Gold, by, I can't remember that guy's name.
And I don't really care what his name is, because I kind of want to hit him with a shovel. The only reason I haven't mentally hit him with a shovel yet is because he had a stroke. I'm not even kidding. He had a stroke. And so, like, on the one hand, I'm like, every time I get annoyed about the book, I'm like, this is annoying me. But on the other hand, I'm like, but I can't yell at him because he had a stroke. That would be terrible. I would probably make him feel terrible.
I'm in the middle of The Courage of Cat Campbell by Natasha Lowe. It's taking me longer than I wanted it to, because there are things. The main character's mom Kat's mom, is the main character of the book that came before this. And that character had abusive parents. And so I was expecting this character to not be an idiot. You know, Kat's mom. I was expecting Poppy to not make the same mistakes that her parents made with her, and she's making those mistakes but in a different way. And I kind of want to stab her in the face. I'm like,
I can't believe you're doing this to your kid.
I started Games Wizards Play by Diane Duane, which is book 10 of the Young Wizards series. And this one is also giving me trouble because I'm really mad at Dyreen's dad right now. Nita and Dyrene are two of the three main characters. Kit, their male friend, is the other main character. Nita and Dyrene are sisters, and their dad is pissing me the fuck off. And his actions in the book, and then also I read A Wrinkle in Time back in March, and I read an essay about A Wrinkle in Time after that. Those three things together have caused me to plan out a podcast about some things that I have a lot of feelings about. I'm having trouble reading Ivory and Bone by Julie Eschbau, but I'm like 3/5 of the way done. It's just that it's written in second person, so the narrator is talking to you, the reader, but he's actually talking to the girl he's in love with, but it's written like he's talking to you, and it's hard to read, not because I don't like it, it's just I'm not used to it. Keeper in the Mist, I'm in the middle. I'm actually like a fifth of the way through. It's just that the print's really small, so like it's hard for me to find my place at work between calls. That's the only problem. I'm reading The Gauntlet by Karuna Riazi, which is like a steampunk Persian Jumanji, and it's really good. I really like it, but I'm really worried because there's like dead things. And I'm like,
is there gonna be death? Is everyone gonna die?
It's been compared to Jumanji, though, where everything gets erased at the end of Jumanji. Once you win the game, all the bad things that happened while the game is in progress get erased. So I'm hoping that's what happens in this, but I'm not sure yet. I'm reading Furthermore by Tahara Mafi, but again, abusive parents are making it difficult. Alice's mom is pissing me the fuck off, and I understand that she has some issues because the dad is missing, but I don't believe in spanking your kids unless you got a really good reason, and her mom does not have a good reason. And by good reason, I mean the only time I used to nanny for people, and they allowed spanking, but the only time I ever spanked was when the kid, usually it was a kid who had a sibling, the kid would physically attack someone, and then I would talk to them about it,
okay, you can't do that.
And they didn't get it, that attacking people hurts that person. And so then I'd give them a swat on the butt and be like,
okay, did you enjoy that? And they'd be like, no. I'm like, did that hurt? And they'd be like, yeah. And I'd be like, okay, that's what it feels like when you do that shit to other people.
And then they'd be like, oh. So, that's the only time I'm okay with spanking. And Alice's mom makes her sleep with the pigs and beats her with a yardstick and shit, and I'm like, why? And I guess maybe because probably Tahara Mafi grew up with corporal punishment and it wasn't a big deal to her. I have no idea, but it really bothers me. I really like the book, but I really hate the mom. And then I'm in the middle of The Night Parade by Catherine Tanquary. Actually, I'm not even in the middle. I'm on page 90. And that one is also giving me grief because the main character, Saki, her dad is an abusive dick. And I'm like,
what is with all these abusive parents? Holy shit!
I'm reading The Mammoth Hunters by Jean M. Owl, and I've been on that book for 3 months, but it's super fat, so, there's that, that's why. And then finally, I'm reading A World Without Princes by Saman Chenani, which is the second School for Good and Evil book, and as you guys know, I am having a lot of trouble, because I have talked a lot about all the reasons why that book is so full of shit. Its eyes are brown, to quote my sister, and, I'm very disappointed. I really like to support marginalized authors because they don't get enough recognition and they don't get enough support and they don't get enough promotion. But, I'm really glad that I bought these books used and didn't give Saman Chenani my money because I am glad that my money did not go to support his incredibly sexist message. I am so mad. Oh, I can't even, I don't want to talk about it because this video is already 16 minutes long and I don't want to make it any longer. Anyway, so that is my June TBR. April-May wrap-up. That's my goal, and if I get those things done, then I might, dip into my July TBR, because I actually, for my birthday, pre-ordered, 20 books, and so they're gonna arrive throughout the following months until October, so I might read one of those. I'm really excited. I'm actually going to be recording a haul, because I got, 30 books in the last 2 months for my birthday. And so I need to talk about those because I'm very excited. Anyway, so yeah, that was my May wrap up June TBR thing, and I will talk to you guys later. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. I've had a terrible last 20 days. Please comment. I'm so sad and lonely. Bye!